everyone, my name is Lori, my nickname is Rini, and I'd like to welcome you to Rini Bobini Creations. If this is the first time you've stopped by to check out my channel, I'd like to offer you a very warm welcome. I do hope you like what you see, and if you do, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing and sharing with your fellow crafters. It really helps us out here on YouTube. If you are one of my amazing subscribers, welcome back. I hope you liked today's craft. We're getting close to the time where I need to transition into doing fall crafts. I thought we'd squeeze one more summer craft in. So today we are making this guy. Picked this up from the dollar store. You can see if you'll hear from me, but if you're gonna sell it or give it as a gift, you might want to do the back. But this one's just for me, so I'm not gonna worry about it. So we'll stop yakking at you and we'll get on with the crafting. Okay guys, apparently I failed to hit record, I just realized. So I'm going to make a sign for my deck, and I picked this up at the Dollarama, and these little embellishments were on them, so I just popped them off. Now because it's going to stay mine and I'm just going to hang it on my deck, I'm not worried about cleaning up the back. This will be the back, and I kept the embellishments in case I could use them on a different project sometime. If you're going to sell it or, give it for a gift, I would do my best to peel this off and maybe put some felt or something on the back, but as it's for me, this one, I'm not going to worry about that. So then I'm just painting. As you can see, I started. I'm just giving it a couple of good coats of just white acrylic. If you have chalk paint, go ahead and use the chalk paint. I don't happen to have any at the moment. I do need to get some though, but I have lots of acrylic, so we'll just go with that. So I'm going to give it, like I said, a couple of good coats of the white acrylic, and then I'm going to set it aside to dry before we come on to the next part of the craft. Okay, so we got our couple of coats of white paint on there. Now the next thing I'm going to do with this one, just to make it look maybe a little bit more authentic, is with our glue gun, I'm just going to run beads of glue. This is going to give it some dimension and make it look like a screw top when we're done. Okay. And while that glue is sitting up, I printed off this. I think I just got it from Pinterest, or one of the free ones anyway. Now when you're doing this, you can use a laser or an inkjet. The laser comes out a little clearer. That's about the biggest difference, but either one will work. And I'm just going to cut it all the way out. Now don't forget, when you find the image you like, you have to print mirror image. Otherwise, when you put it down, it will be backwards. And you can do that if you go into printer properties. I think it says layout, and then at the bottom it'll say more options, and then that's usually where it is, and it will give you the option to do a mirror image. Okay, so we're going to cover this picture in a good thick coat of Mod Podge. I'm using matte. Just got me a foam brush here. All right, now this is a process you are not going to want to rush. You are going to let this dry overnight. So I'm just going to place it then I'm just going to smooth it out. Oh, that fur gets everywhere for my last project. I know I sound a little funny here today. I'm a little bit sick. Okay, once that's all smooshed down and all smooth, pardon me, we got one more part of the Mod Podge we're going to do. So I'm going to take some tissue paper, it doesn't matter what color because we're going to paint it, and I'm going to go over the part that I did for the screw lid of the can. And I want to make a fairly straight line where that is, so I'm just kind of going to mark it with my fingernail so I get it back in the same place. And that, when we go to paint it, that will give something to paint, for the paint to adhere to. It doesn't adhere. I mean, chalk paint is okay, it might work for the screw lid, but I'm going to be using silver acrylic, which actually I find the metallics do stick pretty well, but I just want to make sure. So we're just, seeing as we have to wait for it to dry anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and put the tissue paper on. And don't worry about it being, perfect around the edges, because we can just sand that bit off after it's all dry and everything, and that will give us a nice clean edge. So now, I'm just going to go in with my finger just because of the ridges. I can just feel a little bit better where they are and make sure I've got it all down. Alright, and then we are going to set this aside to dry overnight, and when we come back we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so our sign's all dry. I like to just take a little bit of sandpaper to the edges to clean up the rough paper and get a nice smooth edge. Oh, I didn't do a great job there, did I? There. That's better. Okay. So now we're going to remove the paper for our sign. So I've got a spritz bottle. If you don't, a little sponge or a damp cloth. And I'm just going to soak, I don't want to overdo it. And then I'm just going to take my hands and rub it over the surface till it's nice and wet. And you can kind of tell when it's done because you can see all the words come through clearer, if that makes sense. And now just gently, you don't have to use a lot of pressure for this. I'm just going to start rubbing until the paper comes off, so we're just left with the wording. And I'm not too worried if a little bit of the lettering comes off. I mean, I don't want much to come off, but it's going to look aged anyway. So, like, there, a little piece fell off. I don't care. It's gonna continue with the look that we're going for anyway. And if you don't like it, you can go in after with either a Sharpie or a little skinny paintbrush and just take care of any of those spots that maybe rubbed off that you didn't want to. Now just very, very gently, I'm just going to go over it with the sandpaper. Just to get any of those little bits. That didn't come off with my finger. Now it's not going to be perfectly smooth, and I will give it a seal coat. Just keep going over it until you're kind of are happy with it, because the seal coat will help too. I think that's probably pretty good now. So now, let me just smoosh our mess off here. We're going to go in with some silver. Sorry, I forgot my paintbrush. Oh, piece didn't really stick down very well. And we're going to do our lid part. Okay, so now we're going to set this aside, let the silver get dry, and then we'll carry on with the next steps. Okay, so everything's all dry, and I've got this little piece, it's just a scrap, happens to be white, which is handy. So I'm going to add a little shelf to the bottom. And I'm going to use, if you've seen some of my previous videos, I've taken apart a bamboo blind. So we're going to use that to edge it. And to pull it together, I'm going to use the bamboo as a straw as well. So I'm going to cut this one off. It was too wide to cover it. So I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife and just cut the one that came on it off. And I think that will work better than this little straw that was part of it. And it comes off, as you can see, quite easy. And I'll just touch that up here after. All right, so next thing is to hide the edges. And so I'm going to do the two glue method. So you get the immediate bond, and then you also get the more permanent bond. So I'm just going to go along the edges with the wood glue. And then I'll just put a little dab of hot glue down the center to hold it while the other glue sets. And these little bamboo pieces, they were so easy to cut with just a pair of scissors, so. And these are a teeny bit wider, so they're going to cause a little bit of a lip for my shelf, which I am okay with. I kind of actually like that. It helps, you know, stuff to stay where it's supposed to and not slide off as easy if you bump it. So I'm kind of intentionally leaving it that way. And I'm going to do the two end pieces first. Hang on. Alright, just a little glue mishap I had to take care of before it became a bigger problem. Now, what did I do with the other ones now that I did all of that? So I did sort of change my mind on the end pieces. I am just going to use the hot glue. It's just not wide enough to get a good space on both of them, and that was sort of my glue mishap. So we're just gonna do the ones on the side with just hot glue, which for this I don't think is really going to be a problem. But the front ones we will definitely use the 2 glue method. There, that's better. All right, so now that I've got those 2 ones done, I'm going to take this next piece of bamboo. And again, guys, you're going to have to apologize for my voice here. I'm still getting over a bug of some sort, so. But I wanted to do this piece last so we can go past the little end pieces and hide those. So once you've got your spot, now you can use skewers for this. You could even leave it. If you're using regular wood, you could use an antique wax or stain it. But because I had this and it was about the right size and happened to be the white anyway, so use what you've got. But I'm just showing you kind of a way to, for me, use what you've got and make it work. Before I glue it on, I just want to double check that it is going to be long enough. Yes, it is. So then I'll cut my second one. And I'll tell you what, this bamboo blind, I'm glad I didn't get rid of it. I've used it for so many things now. It was just sort of falling apart. It had seen better days. But there's so many of these that you can just pitch the ones that, you know, aren't in good shape and take it apart and use all the ones that are. So yeah, it was a good buy. All right, so now we're going to do the 2 glue method because we'll have more space to work with. So I'm just going to go every so often here. Oh, guys, that's wrong. I don't want to do it on that side. Oh, yeah, I do want to do it on that side. Okay, I was right the first time. Okay, so yeah, we're going to do the 2 glue method. And I'm just using Gorilla Wood Glue or all-purpose, yeah, it's wood glue. And I find it works for way more than just wood. I'm really happy with this glue, and I just happened to get it on sale, that big bottle, when Michael's was having a sale, so I got a really good deal on it. So that's our little shelf part. And then for this bit, like I said, I wanted to bring the bamboo into this so it kind of pulled it together. So I thought the bamboo straw would be a good idea. So I'll just start breaking it here so I can play with it a bit easier. Let's see where I kind of want it. I almost feel like we need 2. Wonky. Now I want them to be like flesh, so they look like one person, but somehow when you cut them, sometimes it bulges the ends, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I think I like that better. So yeah, I'll just glue these 2 together. to just down the back put some hot glue, but I'm gonna paint the sides first, whatever I did with my little paintbrush that I have now misplaced. Oh, yeah, got it. It was right where it should have been. I just couldn't see for looking. So yeah, I'll just go down the sides. And then just to sort of hold them while I'm just gonna do this. Now I may wipe some of that glue off after. I find if you have an X-Acto knife, you can sort of scrape at it after, but that'll hold it together while it sets, and we'll put that on after. So as I kept looking at this, I felt like it just needed something else. And so I'm gonna frame our sign with more of this bamboo, and I think that's really gonna pull the whole thing together. The bamboo totally gives it a porchy feel. So I think that is what I'm gonna do. Now I'm not gonna 45 my angles or anything like that for this particular craft. So just cut it to size. I have a real beachy feel on mine. I got shells and everything, so I think this bamboo really adds to that sort of beachy vibe I got going on. And I think it just kind of finishes it really nicely. Okay, so now I do have all my pieces, but I did want to show you. I have to make sure this shelf is going to fit on the bottom. So I don't want to put my frame so low that it's not going to attach right. So I want the shelf flush with the bottom, like the bottom of the shelf flush with the bottom of the jar. So that's going to be my line. And then I am going to glue this one first, the two end pieces first, and then I can snug everything up. Now it can't be quite as low as I would have liked. We are going to cover up a little bit of those words, but only the bottom bit, and I'm actually going to be just fine with that. So I'm just going to use hot glue for this. It's not like something's going to be, you know, playing with it, or, you know, it's not going anywhere. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the hot glue for this bit. And then I want to do the same at the top. This just is. I'm just going to lay, but before I do that, I'm just going to lay these ones beside it just to make sure I get sort of the height right. Okay, so now all my pieces fit, and I just sort of measured out where that needs to go. Yeah, let me make sure I don't mix them up again, which I just did too. Yeah, okay. So I am going to put this top piece on first, and that's just to, then I can snug the other ones up to it. But I just want to make sure, I'm just showing this, I've already kind of done this bit, but I just want you to be aware. Pardon me. So when you do this, not only do you need to make sure it's wide enough to go in between, you want them to match up at the top too, right? So I'm just going to draw very lightly a line there and a line there. But before I color good, I'm now going to put the other one on the other side and just make sure that it works all the way around. And do the same thing here. Just there, come out, and there. And again, I am just going to use hot glue for this. So of course I'm on a glue. Now the last thing I'm going to do here before we put our shelf on is I am going to give it a good coat of Mod Podge just to seal everything in, to make those letters pop a bit more. Oh, and I'm going to antique the edge. I'm just going to rough up the edges a bit, just with some darker paint and a sponge, just a little, just to age it. Not a whole bunch. I think I'm going to stay fairly light-handed with this one. I usually am someone that likes a little bit heavier, but I think for this particular piece, I'm just going to keep it kind of light-handed. So I just have my espresso here and just an old sponge from the dollar store. I'm just gonna, oh, we're just about out of that one, aren't we? Should be enough for what I'm doing now. Just very little on my brush. I don't know, guys, today's one of those days where maybe because I'm sick I just feel disorganized. If they have something, then I don't know where I put it. I just want my paper towel that I just had like 2 minutes. Oh, it fell in the garbage, that's why. Okay, so I'm just gonna brush some of it off. It might not even be necessary because this paint is so almost gone. Oh, strings everywhere. And I'm just alright, so that's all I'm gonna do. Nothing too heavy-handed on this one, just slightly. And now we're gonna go ahead with a coat of Mod Podge. This is matte. You can use whatever you like, whatever suits you. And I'm just going to go over it and give it a good quick coat of the Mod Podge just to seal everything in. Oh no, I had some red still on that. I thought I cleaned that off. Let's try that again. See, I'm having that sort of a day, guys. I just am. Okay, now I'm just going to set this aside to dry, and once it's dry, we'll come back in and put our shelf on. I just saw my fingerprint, there we go. And we'll attach the shelf and our hanger. Oh, but before we do, let's put our straw on there, might as well. So I'm just going to use some hot glue. I'm going to put it kind of off kilter. And then we'll set that aside to dry. Okay, so we're pretty much dry now. It's a little tacky in spots, but not the spots I need to worry about. So we're gonna carry on here and get her finished up. So we're gonna put our shelf on, but before I do that, I do wanna put the hanger on. Now I was thinking I would do the one with the beads, but I kind of don't want the hanger to actually show in this one. So I'm gonna place it down further using quite a bit of hot glue. And then here's a little trick that I've learned that works very well, so your hangers don't come off over time. If you just cut a little piece of felt, or probably any fabric could work, and place it over that hanger and really press it down, that hanger's not going to go anywhere. It would take quite a force to make that come off now. So it just to keep things where they need to be. Now if I were going to not keep this one, if I were selling it or whatever, I would finish the back. I would probably put felt all over the back, Mod Podge it on, and then cut around it when it was done. But as this one's just going to be on my porch, I'm just not going to worry about the back on this one. But just if it's something you want to make and sell, it's just as an easy way to sort of clean up the back is just, if you can get the paper off and clean it up, great. If not, just spread your Mod Podge, put down, I say felt because nothing peeks through it unless you're using white, I guess. And then once the Mod Podge is dry, just take your X-Acto knife, cut around everything. It's a perfect, beautiful finish, and it finishes the back up nicely. Okay, so now for this part, now what I will end up doing, but I won't do it on camera, I'll just let you know. I'm gonna glue this on with wood glue and really let it sit and set. But then after that, I am gonna come in. I have some other projects I need to use my compressor for my nail gun. So I will come back in after and just using the nail gun just to make sure it stays where it belongs. I'll go ahead and use that. You can also use screws. You can use little nails. And honestly, if you're not putting anything heavy on it, the wood glue may just be enough and you don't need to worry about it. It just depends. So I just wanted to mention that, even though I'm not going to be doing it on camera, I am going to do that at some point here. Okay, so I am actually going to use quite a bit of glue on this. I'm going to try and pour it. So it's very thick. It does take a little while to come down, and I don't know, I always am clogging those things. I've tried chips and tricks and I still end up clogging them, probably because I wait too long. I leave it too long before I take care of it. But anyway, we'll worry about that another day. So you can see I've got quite a bit on there. I do have my centers marked. I don't think I remember to show that on camera. So find your center of both your sign and your little shelf. Mark them so you can put them exactly where they belong. And then you can see I've got my little center marks, so I'm just going to line those up. Now I did try clamps just to see if it would work. They didn't, I think just because it's such a skinny piece. So the other thing I am going to do is just take some masking tape and sort of tape it until it really gets a decent hold. And I'm not going to show that on camera either because I left it downstairs. It's just that kind of a day today. So we'll set this aside, let it get good and dry, and when it's ready, I'll show you the final product in its place.